Hello guys, good afternoon. How are we? Welcome back to the live stream. I was just checking everything was working. Hope everyone's well. Hope everyone had a good Christmas and New Year. And I hope you all weigh 10 stone more, because I certainly do. I have not stopped eating and drinking. But anyway, guys, we're back. This is the first trading week back. Started on Monday the 5th. And this is our first live stream of the year. So very exciting. As usual, guys, we've got lots to get through, right? I'm going to show you a trade that I am currently in. I got into this yesterday. I'm also going to show you a couple of trades, or one trade really, that I'm interested in right now as well. We're also going to take a look at the news. We've had a bit of news today, but nothing really moving the markets. And then more importantly than anything, guys, we are going to take as many of your questions as possible. So those of you that are, regulars, please leave your questions, guys. And it could be anything to do with trading. It could be money and risk management, strategy, psychology, a currency pair you want me to look at. And if you're new to the channel, don't be shy. Come and ask a question. I don't bite. I weigh too much to bite now. So that's the plan of attack, guys. That's what we're going to do. And I'm going to show you how I manage, or how I'm managing this trade right now as well. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy the analysis. Also, has anyone got a New Year's resolution? So don't be shy, guys. Tell me what your New Year's resolution is. Doesn't matter how normal it is. Because I have drank and eaten myself silly, I am having 50 days off the booze. That's what I'm doing. So 50 whole days. So if you see me sort of twitching on the screen, then you know why. So that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, please share your New Year's resolutions, guys. And I can see people coming in now. So yeah, Happy New Year, everyone. Hello, everyone. CJ's liking the new background. Yeah, it's very, very zen. There you go. But yeah, hello, guys. Hope everyone's well. We've got Luigi, Nero, Dan the Gooner. Arsenal are doing well. Max, CJ, and I think that's Adrian. So Adrian always makes me happy because he's a Man United fan. And they're the only team doing worse than Liverpool. All right, guys. So, yeah, remember, get your questions over to me. Now, what we're going to look at, first of all, is a trade that I am in, right? And it's New Zealand yen buy trade. So you can see my trade here. I'm going to show you why I entered it and how I'm managing it, right? Because I think managing a trade is as important as the entry, if not more important. Right, I do place a lot of emphasis on managing trades because over the year you will, increase reward and reduce risk by doing this. All right, so let's understand the trade first of all. So, as you can see, guys, on the daily chart, you can see that we are in an uptrend. Okay, so you can clearly see that we're getting higher lows, right? Higher highs, right? So daily's in an uptrend. And I actually entered yesterday. So this candle wasn't here, but this one was, right? And we're getting bullish candles. And I'm also liking yesterday's candle as well, right? So uptrend, bullish candles, and we've got all this room to move into, if not all the way back up to here, right? And if we look at the weekly, I just want this to support my trade idea. And it does, right? Because you can see we're in an uptrend. That's probably not the best way to show you. This was kind of ranging, and then bang, we're in an uptrend, right? And unlike a lot of yen pairs, New Zealand yen was pretty much the only one that wasn't crazy overextended, right? You can see it's not that far from our smart river, right? And we've got this room to move into, and you can see my blue line, this higher time frame target here. So daily and weekly said, Tom, you can buy this bad boy. And that's what I did. right? So yesterday, you can see we were, this was all before yesterday, but then we got pretty much the first candle of my first trading day, I entered. Right, we've got this big H4 candle. It kind of feels like it took out a lot of stop losses down here, and then I just entered. Right, started buying here, stops here, take profit up here, and that's my 1:1. And the trade is going exactly to plan. Right, we had this level here, right, which it broke. Right, these lows held. And then we broke this resistance level, right? These candles are exactly what I wanted to see, a break of this resistance. And this is where we're at, right? But then as soon as I get a break of this level, it just tells me that the H4 trend is strong enough to break resistance, right? We've got those big bullish daily candles, right? So everything's telling me to keep buying this trade. So what I've done, this is the original trade here, my 1:1. But what I've done, guys, is basically entered again in here. I've bought in here, and then I've reduced my stop loss from here to just up to here, right? Just below this last low now. All right, this was the last significant low. Now I would say this is. Right, because you can see the reaction we had from it. And that's what I've done, guys. I've reduced risk, but I've added that risk to this buy trade. So if the trade does go against me, I'm still minus 1%, right? That's what I trade. That's my risk parameters. But now, because I've added to the buy trade, if it comes up and hits this, I am going to make more than 1%. It'll probably be around 1.3%, something like that. Okay, I might even add to it again. Let's see. But, that's where we are so far with this trade. And that is how I roll, right, when it comes to managing trades. And the maximum I can lose every time is 1%, right? Unless I start hedging, that's something completely different, guys. That's a bit more advanced, I would say. But generally, on a standalone trade, although I'm reducing risk, I can still only lose 1% on this trade. But I'm maximizing profit if it does hit target. And that, my pedigree chums, is why we like managing trades, right? So, yeah, that's New Zealand yen. That's what I am in right now. I also want to say hello to the TikTok massive. Believe it or not, I've worked out TikTok and we are live on TikTok. So hello, everyone on TikTok. Yeah, the next one I really like, and I know a few of the price action indicator traders like this one. I really like US dollar, Canadian dollar sells. Right, because I'm not in this trade, but I want to get into it. And I'm going to show you what I'm looking for. But guys, please don't forget to give me your questions. Your questions are my fuel. If I don't have any questions, I will cry on my first live stream back. Don't look down with that. Anyway, daily chart, US dollar, Canadian dollar, right? You do not need to be Warren Buffett to see that this is in a downtrend, right? Getting lower highs, lower lows, here, lower lows, right? And we're back at these highs, okay? And we've had a nice, I wouldn't say a massively bearish reaction, right? But that wick rejection is bearish enough for me, right? At this last high. So we're still in a downtrend. We're getting a bearish reaction, and it actually closed back into our smart river. All right, this is part of our price action 101 indicator. If you want a really systematic approach to trading, go check it out. But yes, yeah, closed back into that, and I just like these little details with this trade. So I'm looking for sales potentially back down to these lows, if not further. I say further, pronounce my TH correctly, because on the weekly, you will see that we've still got this room down to these lows in here, right? This is clearly a good target. And we were in this uptrend, and then bang, we're firmly in a downtrend, right? Clearly, we broke this low, we're getting lower lows. We haven't got a new lower high as yet.Maybe this is it, maybe it isn't, right? But, you know, everything's pointing towards the fact that we could potentially take this all the way back down to 1.3600. So I like US dollar, Canadian dollar for those reasons. Now, if we drop down to the H4, it is not in a H4 downtrend, right? You don't need me to tell you that, right? You can clearly see it's in an uptrend. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to say this, right? But basically, this is where we're at. We're in an uptrend, right? We're trading above our smart river as well, okay? Now, recently, guys, how can I phrase this? I have been putting more emphasis on value than H4 trend, right? So they almost become daily trades in a way, if you think about that, right? So I am willing, I've got an alarm in here. I would consider selling at this point. And you'll be right. You'll be thinking, Tom, that is not a H4 downtrend. What are you talking about? It's because I like the daily so much, right? Now, I can trade this a couple of ways. If I did start entering in here, right, I'm going to put my stop loss like so far out of the way, so far above this high, because I haven't waited for H4 structure, right? And then I'll be looking for 1:1, you know, arguably back down to here, right? And that will be my trade. Again, it gives me options, guys. It allows me to manage the trade easier, and I can add to the position, close it early, etc. Right? So that's one way of trading it. The other way of trading it is maybe this happens, right? And then we get a breakdown in H4 structure, right? Then I can start selling in here, stop loss above here, the last H4 high basically, and then we can look to take it lower. So yeah, I'm gonna see, guys. Really, you know, I'm gonna see how price reacts at this level, because if we zoom in, we have got bullish candles, right? I mean, this is looking like this bullish candle could take it back up to these highs. That may well happen. And then if it gets back up to these highs, I'm definitely going to sell. I'm just going to sell because it's at a resistance level. It is at the last daily high, right? If I remember from the daily chart. But yeah, I'm not ready to enter this trade as yet. And what will have a bearing on this, right, is news, obviously. Now, we've had a lot of PMI data come out with the euro and the pound, and we haven't seen much movement, right, guys, to be honest. We've got some CPI data that could be important. We've got that in 45 minutes. But we do have some US dollar data as well, which is more PMI. So if I'm looking at US dollar, Canadian dollar, I might see what this news does first, right? This news, if we think about US dollar, Canadian dollar, might push it up towards these highs, and then I get excellent value. It might push it down and break these lows. Then I get a H4 structure. Excuse me, been having far too many digestive biscuits. Haven't stopped eating. Or we get a break of H4 structure, right? And that will also be a good catalyst for a trade. So either way, I'm trading US dollar, Canadian dollar. All right. So yeah, that's how we're going to roll with that. And as always, guys, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and smash the like button. And remember, guys, right, if you want all of my trade ideas, right, this is my New Zealand yen, right? If you want all of my trade ideas, entries, stop losses, take profits, then come join the free Discord, which is totally free. And then you can also come join the VIP Discord. And you can see we had some good trades just that were closed over Christmas as well. So this is the VIP, but even in the free Discord, guys, every day, which I've just had a spring clean, by the way, it's not spring, I've had a January clean. But every day, guys, I also give you this, Tom's Daily Trade Ideas, right? So Tuesday the 6th of Jan, you can see everything that I'm looking at, all right? So come join the free Discord if it's only for that, right? You can get all of my trade ideas, so come check it out. And there you can see US dollar, Canadian dollar, and New Zealand yen are two of the pairs I'm looking at. Yeah, so there you go, guys. That is what I am looking at. Right, let's say hello to a few people. So Luigi, hi. Nero, hi. Dan the Gooner, hi. Max, CJ, Adrian. Neil says, don't forget Spurs. We are doing badly. Yes, you are. I thought Thomas Frank was going to do wonders at Tottenham, and you have been horse crap. We haven't been much better. Zivil, hello everyone. Dan the Gooner. Tom, what are your thoughts on journaling? I don't journal, but apparently if you don't, then you're a right nutter. Yes, okay, well, I don't know if it makes you a nutter, but I don't journal, right? So there's a little confession. I used to journal, right? So when I was learning trading, I journaled, right? Because I wanted to learn from every trade, everything that I did. I was really micromanaging every trade. And therefore, I need to journal everything, right? And while you're learning, journaling makes a lot of sense. Of course, right? Because, you know, you're like, right, I can analyze that trade. What did I do wrong? Could I, you know, did I not wait for a structure break? Was I a bit too quick to the trade? You know, and all of these things. So journaling's good if you're learning trading. Now, I'm an old bastard and I've been doing this for a long time. So I don't journal every trade. What I do is this, right? So if I'm having like winning month, right? You know, don't change anything. I don't look back at any trades, you know, maybe a couple of things, but I just keep the momentum going. There's no need to stop and journal and do any of that, in my opinion. But if I have a bad month, then I will look back over my trades, because obviously all my trades are in the VIP Discord, right? So, you know, it's like a bit of journaling, but I can go back and check all of those trades and I'll be like, right, why was that? Was that not a good trade? And, you know, and then I will get involved and look back. But you must understand the difference between a bad trade and an unsuccessful trade. So if I go back and look at my trades and I look at an individual trade and I'm like, right, I pretty much did everything as per my strategy, right? I was totally happy with that trade, but it didn't work out. Now that was just unsuccessful, right? I can't control the result of my trade. No one can. But if I look back and I'm like, right, I was, you know, I entered too soon. I didn't wait for a structure break, or the daily candle wasn't quite bearish enough when I took the sell, you know, then that becomes a bad trade, right? Because you've made mistakes. So it's very important when you look back at trades to distinguish that difference as well. All right. But yeah, if you're learning trading, I would suggest journaling. And if you don't, it's because you've probably been trading long enough to have consistency, and you only need to worry when there's losing months, right? Or you're a nutter. But good question, Dan. I like these questions, even though you are a gooner. Mohammed, hi, Happy New Year. Mr. Billionaire, Happy New Year. To all future billionaires and present billionaire Tom. I wish, Mr. Billionaire. I wish I was a millionaire, let alone a billionaire. Andrea, pound US dollar. Andrea, you love a bit of pound US dollar. I guess if it's not broke, don't fix it. So we're going to take a look at that. Let me have a quick drink. That's all I've been drinking is water just to filter my liver in January. Yeah, and 50 days of sobriety. I'm not drinking for 50 days, guys. So if you see me sweating and trembling on a live stream, you know why. Right, Andrea, pound US dollar. Now, if we just go back to my Discord, I forgot what it's called there, you can see pound US dollar was a buy trade, right? And US dollar CAD sell, right? So we're seeing some US dollar strength in that respect, right? We're seeing US dollar weakness in that respect, sorry. So let's go to US dollar Canadian, let's go to pound US dollar actually. Now, I like it because there's a little bit more room left. If we go to the weekly, right, if we look at the weekly, I was, we was a little bit indifferent here, but then this candle, bang, strong buying pressure, a little bit indifferent, but ultimately this candle is telling me buyers are in control. And we have a little bit more room, I would say, up to this level in here, right? So that's the weekly. The thing with the daily is, have we hit that resistance level? And if you look at my resistance level, the answer is not quite, right? I mean, if you really zoom in, you can see the top of that candle hasn't quite hit it. And I still think there's some room up to that 1.36. So I am a pound US dollar buyer still, right? I still think there's a little bit more room there, but it's not much, right? I much prefer US dollar Canadian dollar, which I just showed you, right? Because there's a lot more room to move into. Let me just show you the daily quickly and compare, right? Look at US dollar Canadian dollar. It's got all this room until the next support level, right? Whereas pound US dollar has very little room, right? So I prefer US dollar Canadian dollar. However, I still think pound US dollar is a trade. And you will see on the H4 where I've got my alarm, right? You can see my dotted alarm in here, right? When that goes off, I'm like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, right? Christmas special. So that's what I'm waiting for, really, because ultimately this area here is going to be my target. And really, I want to put my stop loss below here. So even here is probably going to be a bit too soon, right? If this is my reward and this is my risk, I still need to wait for a bit more of a pullback. But this is based on two things though, right? So, if the gray zone is my target, then absolutely I'll have to wait for a bit more of a pullback. Whereas if 1.3600, if I can just show you that level up here, right? Yeah, basically the top of the gray zone. If this is my target, this is my stop loss, then this level's about right. Okay. So I am interested in pound US dollars, but not if it doesn't come down to here. If it just pops up from here and goes up into here, not interested. Right? But if it comes down into here, I'm gonna see what happens, and I may well enter the trade if I don't get a setup on US dollar Canadian dollar. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's pound US dollar. I hope that helps, Andrea. Right, we've got JG. Hi, Tom. EuroCAD bias. Okay, before we do, CJ, fully agree with giving less of a shit about H4 trend and going with the day trend. Yes. And this is an interesting little point that I want to share, right? I don't know if you're new traders or you've been trading for a little while or you've been trading for years, right? Now, you will all, right, this is a pattern with all traders. When you first start trading, you will be looking at the 15-minute chart, the hourly chart, maybe even the 5-minute chart. Because your perception is if I can get more trades each day, I'll be a millionaire by Christmas, right? You want to be trading and you think if I'm in the market more, I can make more money. And the total opposite is true. And then once you start realizing that and you realize how unreliable the lower time frames are, you just go higher and higher and higher with your time frames, right? You end up on H4 daily, right? Even look at the weekly like I do, right? And you soon realize these time frames are more reliable. You're going to get less trades, of course you are, but they're going to be more reliable and therefore you can get better results and more consistency. Rather than scalping the shit out of the 5-minute chart, right? You're just going to be, you'll go grey. I mean, look at me. I scalped the 5-minute chart for a little while, but only a little while. Right? I soon thought this is just chaotic, right? And all of my years in trading has led me to pretty much daily direction and daily or H4 entry, pretty much, right? So yeah, I agree, CJ. EuroCAD. All right, let's have a look at EuroCAD. Where are ye? Before we look at EuroCAD, guys, if you just look above my head, if I could please ask everyone to firstly come join our free Discord channel. It's free. Why the hell not join it? Right? I give you my trade ideas. There's other traders sharing knowledge, ideas. Yeah, just come join this. Even if you've never set foot in a Discord room before, do it. Also, guys, please go check out our website, www.simply-forex.com. I'm just kicking my light. On there, you will find, you'll get access to all of our premium trading education. All right. So there's something on there where you can learn. Right. So go check that out. And also, guys, if you sign up with our preferred broker, Pepperstone, which is a world-class leading broker, by the way, you will get free access to the VIP and you'll get a Trading View subscription. Right. It's a no-brainer. Come join the fun. All right, so check all that out, guys. And as always, all the links for all of these things are in the video description. And we're also giving away 4 hours of a price action masterclass, right? So that is also in the video description. Right, enough of all that business. EuroCAD. So this is how I roll, guys, right? I will look at the daily chart. And the daily chart was pretty much ranging and then bang, downtrend. Lower highs, lower lows. But these lows are holding, right? But we're still in a downtrend, okay? And we've had this big, look, I mean, that is a very big bullish reaction. We saw a lot of Canadian dollar weakness yesterday, right? But even with this big candle, right, chances are we can make our way back up to this resistance level. But I do not want to trade against daily trend, right? Don't do it. Yeah, again, in the VIP, guys, there's a strategy where I will trade against daily trend, but there's some real select parameters for me to do that. And this is not it. So just don't trade against daily trend, right? So the fact that I want to be with trend, I will do 2 things. So maybe because of this big bullish candle, we eventually see price come up to here. And then we see a bearish daily candle. I think that will be a very good place to enter, right? And I will take it back down to these lows, right? It'll become a bit of a downtrend stroke range. That would be a good entry. I'm just thinking if we got a big bearish candle here, would I enter? Perhaps, right? But I know I don't like the H4, and we'll look at the H4 in a minute. Perhaps, right? But I prefer the other setup. And the other setup I prefer is this, right? If price comes down and then we get a break of these lows, which are proving to be stubborn, and then we get a retrace and then we come lower. So in all of those scenarios, I want to sell Euro CAD because it's in a downtrend, right? Now, I can see why people would want to buy Euro CAD, because if you look at that, if you look at this, right, if you look at the daily chart, big bullish candle, and then if you look at the H4, it's at a beautiful level. Look at that. That is at a beautiful level. Really is. There's your resistance, right? There's your break. There's your retest. Take price back up to here. And on the H4 chart, I could not disagree with you. Just couldn't, right? I'd be like, yeah, that's wonderful trade. You take it. It's brilliant. But we don't just take information from one time frame. We know this is in a downtrend, right? A daily downtrend. So why go against that? You know, having said that, if you said, Tom, you have to trade this, otherwise we will, you know, stick matches under your toenails and light them, then I would buy this back up to here. But the thing is, I don't, right? I don't have to trade this. Let's take a quick look at the weekly, because that is bearish, right? So again, right, weeklies telling us sell, right? It was kind of bubbling around here, and this is where we're at on the weekly. So again, these lows are holding, but we are getting lower highs, lower lows, right? And I still think we have all this room to move back down to this 16,000. So I am ultimately bearish Euro Canadian dollar. It just so happens I haven't had an opportunity as yet. So I hope that helps, JG. Right, who else have we got? So I hope that helps, JG. Brian, hello, mate. How are you? Happy New Year. M, Happy New Year, Tom. How do you think your boys will do against the mighty Arsenal on Thursday? Slightly worried, I must say. We've got lots of injuries. We're not playing well, and Arsenal are on fire. And can I just say, Declan Rice is a world-class centre midfielder. He's unbelievable, and would love him at Liverpool. So, yeah, not holding out much hope, I must say. Okay, what else have we got in here? Andrea, the dollar index is in a deciduous region. If it breaks 99, it's a buy. All right, let's have a look at the dollar index. Let's start with the daily. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if it breaks 99, it's a buy. I would say if it breaks 98.50, it's a buy. Right? But look at that. Right? That's telling me to sell. So we're just trying to understand the direction of the dollar, right? Because this obviously helps you understand pound, US dollar CAD, euro, US dollar, you know, all of the US dollar majors, right? But we are ultimately in a downtrend. It looks very similar to US dollar, Canadian dollar sells. obviously, right? Highly correlated. Yeah, we're getting lower highs, lower lows. Though these lows are holding, but at this high didn't break and we got a big bearish candle. So that's telling me to at least take price back down to 97.50, if not a bit further. Because if I zoom out, yeah, you can see this support level through here. Right? So yeah, nothing but US dollar weakness, right? Which plays into the idea of US dollar CAD sales and pound US dollar buys. But like you said, Andrea, if we break these last highs, right, and we get a candle that does this, we then have higher highs and we're in an uptrend. And my and my view of the dollar will totally change, right? I will become a dollar buyer. If that reflects in the US dollar majors, right, which I'm sure it will. So yeah, if that happens, but everything's pointing towards more US dollar weakness, right? If we take a quick look at the weekly as well, yeah, the weekly is less definitive. I mean, we are in a downtrend, right? But ever since we got down to this level through here, I mean, it doesn't look like a support level. If we look left, the support level's through here. But at that point right there, you can see buyers keep coming in. Right? So it'll be interesting to see if it can make its way back down here. So US dollar CAD is at that interesting position, guys. All right, I'm going to wait for that US news to come out. And if that US news is negative, I'll get into this trade. But it's looking like US dollar, Canadian dollar, if we get a nice bullish H4 candle like this, wants to make it back up to these highs. And then it's a really nice selling opportunity in here. So let's see. And I had my alarm there because it's the H1, right? It's the last H1 high. Right, so if it does break that as well, you've had a H1 structure break, right? And everything suggests we're in a H1 uptrend, H4 uptrend. We could make it back up to these highs. So interesting. US dollar, Canadian dollar right now is very interesting. And as always, guys, I will put my exact entry, take profit, stop loss in the VIP Discord. So come join that. Yeah, don't be shy. Right, we're getting a few more questions in. Hi Nero, hi Famaleko, hi Heath. How are you, Heath? Welcome. So I'm just going down the questions in order, guys. And guys, if you want priority questions, right, then you can become a supporter of the channel. I think it's like £1 sterling or something like that. But you can become a supporter of the channel and you will get your questions answered first, guys. So if you're interested in that, click join Simply Forex on YouTube. And just show your support, guys. Naz, I know you shared this, Nero, in the trading challenge room. And yeah, I've got to agree with buys, right? This was in a downtrend. Then we were in a, and now we're here, right? So we are getting higher highs, higher lows. So we are in a uptrend. This high does put an element of doubt in your head, right? But we're still in an uptrend. Okay, we're at this nice support level through here. Let me get that out of the way. We're in this nice support level through here, and we've had a nice bullish reaction. So yeah, I think we can take price back up to here, if not here, if not potentially all the way back up to here, right? So daily's a buy trade. If we look at the weekly, again, we're in an uptrend, right? There's no two ways about it. But even here, we're getting lower highs, higher lows. Right, it's still there's a little bit of ambiguity, word of the day. And we have this big negative weekly candle. So I don't necessarily want to buy into that. So I'm leaning towards NASDAQ buys, but I wouldn't say necessarily that I want to get into this trade, right? But if I did, let's have a look at the H4. Yeah, and the H4 is in a downtrend, right? We can see H4 here, downtrend, and that's where we're at, right? If we start breaking this level in here, then okay, I think there's more room to the upside. It'll be interesting to see what happens. But we are in a H4 downtrend. So that's another reason I'm not interested in taking this. Nero will drop down to the H1 because I know you do go down to the lower time frames. And this level is holding, right? If that starts breaking, it's coming down, right? Whereas if that level up here, you can see this level through here, right? If that level, if it keeps doing this and it breaks, then I think is off to the upside. So it's a bit of a wait and see for me. I wouldn't want to jump into this trade. But thanks for sharing in the free Discord. Yeah, we've recently got a trader challenge, guys, on our free Discord. So basically you share your trade of the week, right? Where you entered and why. And then you're going to share the outcome. And the person who has the best trade that week or trade of the week is going to win a $5,000 funded challenge. So if you want to get involved with that, also come join our free Discord, right? The link is in the video description. Okay. For Maleko, New Zealand US dollar, I'm confident in buys. New Zealand US dollar, before I even look at it, I know is scruffy, right? Because if we look at the daily, it's scruffy because of this. We are at a good level of support and resistance. That level through there has proven to be good support and resistance. Now, we are in an uptrend. Right? There's no two ways about that. We're in an uptrend, okay? Getting higher highs, higher lows, and these lows held. And we got a very nice bullish candle. The problem with it is that we are buying straight into resistance. Now, if this happens, right, I would only take this trade back to these highs, not these highs. Because what you could be seeing, right, is potentially a head and shoulders pattern, which is quite common at a resistance level. So this would be my target, right, which we're not there yet, because you might then get, neckline break and away we go. So daily's not super clear because you're buying into resistance. And then if we look at the weekly chart, it's scruffy, right? This is clearly the last high. And has it broke? I'm going to say no, it hasn't, because this wick closed back in, and then this wick has closed back in that wick. We haven't had a clean break out of that level and this grey resistance level, right? And instead, we're just kind of bouncing between here and here. For me to get interested with New Zealand US dollar, we go back to the day chart. That's exactly what I would want to see, right? I'd want to see a break to the downside, I become a New Zealand US dollar seller, or a break to the upside and I become a New Zealand dollar US dollar buyer. All right, guys. So yeah, Ravi, hi. Guys, we've run out of time. So yeah, thank you very much for joining me for the live stream. Don't forget to join me again tomorrow at the same time. We can look at some more trades, potentially looking at that US dollar, Canadian dollar trade that I might be taking today. I'll let you know in the VIP. But yeah, get all your questions ready for tomorrow, guys. Please come join me again. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you next time.